like what has the last week been like for the nation, and the big focus been in the last 5 days or so?
All right, thank you, Angel. And really, the way that the principal chief and the administration and leadership team has looked at this crisis in the last few weeks is in phases. Sort of implementing phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 as the crisis itself calls for it. So as we see this thing begin to spread more and to begin to get closer and close in on our boundaries, we started to ramp up things. And so you saw the release of essential employees staffing model, and then you saw the release of an essential department model, getting even more employees home. So really, our focus has always been how do we completely do our 100% part to help stop the spread and to slow the spread of this virus, while also trying our best to minimize the interruption in services. And as we talked before, we've prioritized our services for the elders, for the families, and for the needy, and really for our services like counseling, for our family counseling and family violence and childcare, really things like that nobody would argue, right? That are our most important areas of need in tribal services. So you don't have to worry about getting your tribal tag right now, but you do have to worry about finding childcare. And so those are services that we definitely wanted to kind of make sure that while we were getting people home, that we also minimize the amount that those services were affected. And that's been a challenge because we found that a lot of our employee base is in that at-risk category. They may not be 65 or over, but a lot of our employees have chronic medical conditions that put them in that at-risk category. So when we started looking at these departments that said, we have a need to get these at-risk employees home, they were coming from a lot of our departments where we said, we can't really afford to have them home, but we've let them go. We've advised them to go on home and not be at risk, because public health and safety of our employees, of our citizens, and the public in general was the main thing. And then our interruption of services came after that. So we're definitely, we want everything to be on the up and up on our watch. And we've stayed a couple of steps ahead of this thing in all of our decisions. We put out our state of emergency before the president of the United States did. We were the first tribal nation to declare a state of emergency. And we have been really forward thinking in all of our health practices, which has kept this virus away from the Muskogee Creek Nation health facilities. We've had multiple days now where there's no new cases of COVID at our facilities. And we're really proud and wanting to spread the fact that it was some of those aggressive policies, we think, that have been able to help curb this thing and kind of put up a wall for Muskogee Creek Nation. We don't want to see it spread anywhere else, but if we can do what we can do in our own backyard and make the decisions that we have autonomy over, we're certainly proud of the fact that we're going to stay aggressive on this thing. So
I think
that's where we're at.
I think that we saw some of these like changes happening before even state facilities were doing it. I think I remember seeing the tent go up at our health centers before the state did. And just a few days ago, the governor released information about different places in each county people can go for testing. But we've had testing capabilities for a little bit now, at least. So that's pretty forward thinking on the curve. Can you talk about some of the solutions you guys have had to work with to keep those essential services going? You kind of mentioned some of the creative ways that you've had to staff.
Yeah, and thanks for that question, Angel, because we're proud of the fact that those services have been lightly interrupted. And we're also proud of the fact that we're seeing a lot of volunteerism from different places. I think, as you guys covered and have talked about with the GOAB, lots of casino employees helping out at our food distribution centers, particularly in Tulsa and in Muskogee and some of those areas where they have heavy traffic. So they've been able to take large gaming facilities like in Muskogee and Tulsa and take some of those employees that are there and make sure that they're helping out and they're working and making sure that our food distribution program keeps rolling. We've got a call-in system now, and while I will say we're proud of that, I will remind the citizens again that this is a system that can really get overloaded with a lot of people calling in at a lot of times, and those, we have like 3 people that can man those phones right now. So I know right now you may be on the phone, you may be on hold a little bit longer than you normally would with food distribution. So I just want to stress out there, we are doing everything we can to mitigate that wait time. Please be patient with us. I know there's a lot of people that, you know, you want to get on that phone, you want to get your order in and make it fast as possible. We're doing everything we can to make sure that not only do you get your food order, but you get it in a timely manner. So
because it's
we're
looking
manning those
different
phone
now.
lines.
People aren't necessarily going in and shopping for their food like they were. They're doing a social distance model of it. They're calling it in over the phone.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a more, you know, lengthy phone process than normal too.
Right. And like I said, we're just asking for understanding. This is, as I told, you know, I was interviewed by a KOCO in Oklahoma City, and they asked me about our policies and how we've been able to kind of roll with the punches. And I said, simply, there is no coronavirus playbook. There is no manual that we can go to. How does a tribal nation handle a global pandemic? There just isn't. And so we've been trying the best we can to sort of pick and pop and kind of find our moments here and there, where we don't we don't interrupt our services, but also making sure that those services go out. So we're in that area right now where we're kind of trying out new things, we're trying out new ideas, and you know, it's one of those things where right now we're seeing a great amount of leadership and volunteerism that's helping to plug a lot of those gaps in services. And I know that our people right now are stressed just like everyone else. Everybody's highly emotional. There's anxiety. You know, we don't know what's around door number 1 or anything like that. So our thing is, we're just trying every day. Every day, the chief and the leadership team comes in, and we're talking with the cabinet. We're asking, what do you need? What are you hearing? Where can we help? What are some ideas? Everybody throw everything on this table. You remember that scene in Apollo 13 where they were like, we got to make this box to fit into this hole using only this, and we've got to do it in the next 2 hours. That's kind of what it's like. We're all throwing things on the table and going, we've got to make this work somehow. Now let's hear it, everybody. And I've been encouraged by the fact that this has been an administration that doesn't have all the answers. This has been an administration that is looking to its leadership, that is looking to its cabinet members, that's looking to its employees and saying, we believe in you, we trust in you, we want your ideas, let's all have it on the table. And that's been refreshing.
Yeah. I got to interview some of the GMs that are working with that Gaming Authority Board volunteer program. And I got to interview the GM over at Bristow, and he said that it was kind of a logical fit for them. Having to send people home and people being at home isn't necessarily what everyone wants. You know, a lot of folks are still able-bodied and willing. And so he got in contact with his kitchen manager. The kitchen manager has everybody's food handler information, and they all kind of ran the elderly nutrition program and kept it going. And that was the same thing that was happening, I think, in McIntosh County and Muskogee, places like that. So we had examples of those people stepping up to the plate. Can you talk a little bit about your the new One Muskogee volunteer program a little bit and let people know about that?
Yeah, thank you so much. We're very proud of the One Muskogee initiative. It's a call for volunteerism. It's basically all hands on deck, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody's going to help us but ourselves. And it's one of those things that, exactly as you're talking about, you know, that is One Muskogee. That is what we're talking about when we say One Muskogee. This may not be my job, but right now it is my job to do this and to plug this hole in service interruption or anything like that. And so for us, that is what we want to see. And we have gained a list and compiled a list of volunteers that are saying, wherever I'm needed, I can do it. This is my areas of expertise. These are the things I can do. Hey, I have my food handler's license. I think that might come in handy. Let me know if you need me. That is the kind of stuff that we wanted, when we rolled out the One Muskogee initiative. Now, right now, those folks are just sort of on standby and they're ready when they're needed. But when we run into a situation where we're going to need more volunteers, we're going to have them ready, and we're going to have them right there where we can say, hey, you're needed here, help us out in this aspect, and they're ready to go. So we're very excited about the One Muskogee initiative. It's sort of one of those things where out of crisis comes a really good, uplifting, wonderful idea, and it's something that it's good to see, and it makes everybody feel good to know that this end of the rope is pulling the back end of the rope to make sure that we're all going in the same direction and towards a good outcome with this deal.
And it is good to know too that in case somebody is performing an essential function, if they happen to get sick, because people can't, will and can, come down with it. There's a lot of downtime with this virus. Even if it's not critical, you have to stay shut away for 14 days. So it's nice to have folks who can step up and fill the positions. Can you talk a little bit about what we're going to be looking at in the coming week? I think that we're all kind of, up to speed on what programs are going to be running and everything, but is there anything important coming up in the next few days that we're going to be looking at? A lot of folks are concerned about our casinos being down and how that's going to pan out.
Yeah, and that's a legitimate concern, Angel, as you know, and as we talked about, there's no getting around it, at election time, there's always the talk of we need to diversify our revenue, and that's very true. But they say that because our gaming is our primary source of revenue. And there's no doubt about it. Closing all 9 sites for this amount of time and for the amount of time that they will be closed is a big hurt. It's a hurt that we're going to feel, and it's a hurt that we're going to have to deal with. No other way around it. So what we're looking at with the casinos is we have taken, we feel that tribes have really taken a really aggressive stance on as far as our casinos, making the hard choice to close them, but the right choice. We look at our casinos as anybody would, really hot spot of transmission for something like a virus that's very contagious and can spread fast. Casinos, you're touching machines, there's money changing. There's card playing, there's dice, there's all kinds of stuff you're talking about that can transmit a virus. So we were on the casino closure from the very beginning of this thing, talking to the GOAB, made the tough decision, and then made another tough decision to prolong the closing. And tomorrow there'll be another decision made. I don't know what that decision is because it's in the hands of a board that I'm not on, but I imagine that we'll see a decision come out of there. That they feel is best to do at this time, and so if you're looking at gaming right now, it's just an area of yes, we are closed. Yes, we're continuing to pay our employees. I'm just going to be honest because other tribal leaders have been honest as well. There is a day out there. We don't know when it is, and we don't know when this virus ends. But there is a day out there that you can't continue to pay employees with no revenue coming in. That's just dollars and cents. I don't think anybody would argue that. And that's absolutely the last. That is the last resort. That is the last thing. If you put a list up of things that we want to see happen, that is almost near the bottom. But I think that we would be misleading the folks out there and wouldn't be doing our job over here in the executive office if we didn't portray the fact that there are possibly some even tougher decisions out there. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And for right now, we're just hoping for the best, and we're hoping that Oklahomans, specifically the people out there that aren't social distancing, that aren't taking this seriously, are staying home and flattening this curve and getting this virus past us so we can get back to the business of taking care of our citizens. And that means opening our facilities to where we can get revenue coming in. And it's not revenue to buy a yacht or send the chief on a vacation to the Florida Keys. It is revenue to get meals to our elders. It's revenue to keep kids being watched in our child care centers. It's revenue to get children in school clothing every year from the tribe. That's the revenue that the casino money goes to. And so those are the things we don't want to see interrupted. It's not about making money for the tribe. It's about the interruption and the critical loss of services that it could result in for our citizens.
I think a lot of people also forget too that some of these casinos are funding community hospitals that are serving everyone, Black, white, Native American, doesn't matter. We have several of those in the Muskogee Creek Nation, and that they are the only hospitals in those communities. So we'll be really excited to see some things getting back to normal when they do. But for now, we're just going to kind of hunker down and ride the storm out. It seems to be so far though that we're seeing the tribe is like on top of things, and it looks like it's being handled, and it's positive so far, you know.
Yeah, and we're trying to stay positive. You know, we don't want to portray this gloom and doom. Look, I said a bunch of really positive things. We're seeing great results from the actions we've taken at our health facilities. We're not seeing new cases there. We're not overwhelmed. Our PPE is good for all of our healthcare workers, and we thank our healthcare workers so much. They are the heroes. They are the rock stars in this whole ordeal. They are doing a phenomenal job, and I can't say that enough, how proud the chief and the second chief are of our healthcare workers, of our hospitals that are taking care of, like you said, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Angel. They're taking care of it in such a way that they're absolutely killing it. They're doing a wonderful job, and you know, they're able to take care of, I'm so glad you brought it up, everyone in those communities. So you're coming in there, we don't check for your CDIB card at the door or anything like that. You know, it's something that we're taking care of our communities, and it says it right there in the title of those hospitals. So that's great. Another thing I want to say, Angel, and I don't know if I had brought this up earlier, is that we're working right now with some really big corporation. With a big corporation, I really can't say too much right now. We're working with a big corporation to try to hammer out some details so that we can even further enhance our food distribution other than what we already do for the people that are in the program. And we'll be identifying areas of need. We'll be able to meet some areas of need, and we're so excited about that. But we're in the initial stages of that. So I should have something for you a little bit later, probably this week, to share about that. So we're really fired up.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think that's about all the questions I have. Is there anything significant you think we should be looking out for this week or the next week?
I would say, you know, I know you guys are as a newspaper and as a media company, very interested in what's going on with gaming. I would just say keep an eye on that meeting, what comes out of that meeting, and releases from there. I know you have your contacts, so I trust your skills as a reporter to go ahead and do that. I don't need to tell you how to do your job. You guys do a great job over there. And we'll also be having probably some releases on our philanthropic ideas I told you about, and some of the things that we're trying to push for there. I do want to share as well that the principal chief signed a National Day of Prayer proclamation, but we have started a National Month of Prayer. So you'll see a video series that me and a couple others are doing. We rolled out yesterday with every Monday. We're starting every Monday with one of the tribe's spiritual leader, whether it be a Creek singer, a Creek preacher, or a ceremonial leader, giving a prayer, giving a word of encouragement, singing a hymn. We're going to start every week with that for everybody, and just be on the same page and believing that positivity is going to pull us through this thing. So awesome. Wanted to share that as well, and make sure you guys are looking for that.
And those are going to be put out on the Muskogee Creek Nation website, the social media, right? Like I think I see it.
Yeah, it's on the Facebook page there. The first one was put out yesterday, and also be looking on the Chiefs Facebook page. Shameless plug there, but we definitely like people to be on the Chiefs Facebook page, because he is almost daily keeping everyone hooked up with some good content. So we really appreciate everybody that follows us on there, and also just letting you know anything that Muskogee Media wants to know. The Chief's office is here. We're looking out for our press before any others. So if you need any information at all, we're here for Muskogee Media to disseminate information to our citizens.